I was looking for my yearbook because I don't even think we had helmets, honestly. Like it was anything goes, But man, just one to have you on the show and to hear your experience of how you lived that with your dad is, I mean, everything, honestly, the influence for me comes from that. And look at who we got. Dana, we have my partner, Free Dog. And he's gonna push the button. He's got no sound.
Like, this is what
John, can you hear us?
when you get people over 50 trying to deal with technical things,
Oh, isn't that funny? It's the funny. He's gonna make it. The funny thing is, like how you're saying, like how you're enamored with the athletes back in the day.
Yeah.
Like my son, when Pastrana came out, he was 13. He'd sit there and play video games with my kid all day. Then we go ride. Then they play video games, and they weren't phased by anybody, I guess they just at that they're so overwhelmed by it, they didn't care, or maybe you give the kid the fastest bike, then they don't want to ride it. I'm not sure. What I mean? But I used to kind of check. Look, he is Johnny. Can you hear us? Oh, he's gone. He's gone. So now, did were you in the bike scene in the beginning of on any Sunday?
No, but a bunch of my friends were. We used to always do that. And that weekend, I wasn't there. There's a young guy. There's a guy named Mark Manderville who's gone. He actually died very young, but he looked like me as a kid. And to this day, I run into people that I knew back then that thinks I'm in that scene. He was number 2 in the bicycle thing.
Okay.
And after my father died, he actually posthumously got into the BMX Hall of Fame. And I had to go to I didn't have to. They invited me to go to the induction ceremony. And just for that 2-minute thing at the start on any Sunday, he got in the BMX Hall of Fame. So I accepted the award for him. And
oh, wow. How cool.
Same boring story. But yeah, we were all into that, like, taking those old Stingrays and putting different seats on them and then racing each other. Yeah. It's kind of before it, right before that stuff really took off and got.
Yeah. We had the I lived on the train track, so we could ride the bike right behind, every day. And then we had a place called the Pit. We were in Orange County in La Habra.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually kind of famous, the Pit.
Yeah.
And back when we used to snap the goosenecks and the cranks off and come home just wounded, and the good old days. And I mean, like you're saying, that's the day when you could actually, ride your bike down the street. And we had the mopeds back then too.
Yeah.
But now all the kids have the electric bikes, and that's
which
something.
Is big. But my grandson goes to.
Hey, there he is.
My internet, of course, went down in the whole house.
Okay, Free Dog, you're back. You got us?
I think I got you.
Okay, so there he is.
Speak
all right,
well,
yeah, he's a little locked up.
Oh, shoot.
You better try it again, Free Doggy. All right, what were you saying, Dana? Sorry, before you jumped in.
No, you were talking about the Pit. No, I mean, just, always messing with those bikes, and it was right. And now we used to be able to ride any bikes around Dana Point. Oh, I know what I was telling you. My grandkid, the e-bike thing.
Oh, yeah.
Go to school on the e-bikes, and they're going like 40 miles an hour. How is it with all the rules that's legal? I don't understand.
Well, now they're starting to get them in trouble now, because with the swans and with the ones with the suspension on them, the kids are starting to do wheelies and have fun. Here comes my partner again. There he is. Free Dog, you got audio?
Speak up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, we got you. Welcome to the show, Free Dog.
Got a little locked up. I can't even see you guys. There you go. There's Jason.
Yeah, you're locked up. All right, well, we're going along here with Dana and trying to get you on. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's all broken up. Sorry.
It's all broken up.
Now I see you. I don't see Dana Brown though.
Hey, Jason, can you
I see Dana Brown? I don't see
I'm
you, Dana Nichols.
There you are, Dana.
Yeah.
All right, so hey, Dana, I got a question for you. One other little personal question. Okay, for John and I making, the dirt bike films, it was relatively a breath of fresh air from making snowboard films because you can, literally, you got a motor, you can jump it 10 times as opposed to one time on a snowboard and hiking back up. Now, I spent a couple years while I raced trophy trucks with Steinberger making truck movies. We did 2 movies called Wasteland Warriors.
Yeah.
And when we did those, what I would do is, wherever I would get out of the truck with Scott is where my extraction team would be. So that's how far my film crew would go. But we did guerrilla style filming, Starfish yelling at us because my guys are running around with cameras and he wants money and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and but right?
Yeah.
But we're living the dream. We're living in the truck, so we're filming the racers in the truck living as racers is how we did it. But I found that filming an off-road truck movie where they go from point A to point B is one of the most difficult freaking things to do. I mean, you made the most sickest off-road fucking movie on the planet. So let's hear it from you.
Well, I just done Step Into Liquid, and I got asked like, hey, let's make a movie. Mouse McCoy, he goes, you should do a movie on the Baja 1000. And
he's a badass, by the way.
Huh?
Mouse McCoy is a badass, by the way.
Yeah, still is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I told Mouse, I said, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. And we went down to the 1,000 and just went to contingency, and my dad had filmed it in 1968 for ABC Wide World of Sports, the second one they ever ran.
Okay.
But Jim McKay went down there and this whole deal. And I'd seen that old Wide World of Sports thing. And I thought, well, if they could do it in 68, you'd probably figure it out now. And I talked to him a little bit and he said it was a pain in the ass, but it's unbelievable. And I went down to contingency and honestly just saw contingency. And I thought, well, even if the race is shit, this is unbelievable. The way the families come together, the different strata of people. And I just such a unique gathering, and then you have this crazy race on top of it. And I thought, well, this will be fine. We'll figure this out. And we just did our best. And like Mouse had raced it. We brought Kevin Ward in, was our director of photography, and he'd raced it and knew a lot about where you'd want to be. And then, like you said, went to Sal. He didn't believe, he kind of went, yeah.
What's in it for me?
A little bit, but then we worked all that stuff out, and then we just got really good guys to do it. And it was still a matter of like, get all the footage back and figure out where the stories are,
Sorry, somebody knocking on my door.
I know things are happening here.
That's why it's called the Vault of Chaos there, Dana.
Right?
I mean, there's a good purpose and a good reason here, Dana Brown.
Yeah.
It's kind of chaotic. What's the odds? Because John Freeman was saying he was watching his TV, right? He said about like 5 minutes before the showtime. All of a sudden, his TV went dark. It just went out, and he completely lost his internet at home. So kind of nutty, kind of crazy. But without any further ado, I know Dana Nichols introduced Mr. Dana Brown, our guest here today. And it's up to you, Dana. Do you want me to keep on working to try to get a hold of John here, or should we start?
You go ahead and keep John. I mean, whatever. Let's let the show go on because.
Yeah, exactly. Show must go on. So, I've got all the clips that John wants to show, and
all right. Well, let's. Why don't you try to go? Let's let me talk with Dana a little bit more about Dust to Glory, and then you can show a couple clips of that. But go ahead and try John again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You keep talking about Dust to Glory. We'll get some clips dialed up for that. I've got the ones that he wants to show, and I'll keep on working on John. Excellent.
Man, John's so bummed right now because he's so excited for the show. He's up all night
Exactly.
watching all the movies last night. But yeah, keep trying them. So let's go back to Dust to Glory now. So when you from my perspective, you guys came in hot with helicopters and went pretty good with a multi-chopper shoot.
Yeah.
And back in the day, how we used to do it was a little different. But yeah, to me, when you get into that industry, after being a professional snowboarder and seeing the dirt bikers and being within the industry, I don't think there's anybody in the world but an off-road truck racer. The guy's a multi-millionaire, but to put that amount of seat time in a truck, dude, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, and there's no spectators. There's nobody out there. Everybody's dirty. There's nobody, the money doesn't matter. Everybody's equal. You know what I mean? It's you, the desert, and they may have a helicopter to get them the hell out of there, but other than that, it's I have more respect for like a Robbie Gordon. It's not fun to me being in my truck. It's like being in a fighter jet with no landing gear, and you want to land but you can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a nutty thing. So I mean, living that and seeing that, making a movie, what do you think about that sport as opposed to the other things that you've been involved with and filmed?
it is, except with the exception possibly of the small group of big wave surfers that really put themselves out there for something that you can just sign up for. There's nothing. It is the most dangerous thing. It's crazy dangerous. And I mean, just that shot where you see the things, it's dangerous for the crowds. But then the paradox of it is, it's such a kind of Sunday picnic feel. Everybody is so nice to each other and so pleasant. It's got a Leave It to Beaver attitude with this just crazy rock concert thing going on. It all exists together at the same time. And it's also a throwback to, we're talking about growing up, and we kind of grew up as young men when that era still existed, but the era of when my dad grew up and they had desert races and people just get together and go racing, or what old drag races were. And, it's kind of got this thing that it's really great. It still exists because you don't see that much anymore. I mean, I think that's why you see things like freestyle motocross came up and stuff where kids can still do something that's not so, you gotta, what would the word be? You got to sign up and go through all these deals. This is something that they just throw themselves into.
Yeah. Well, that is kind of amazing how, most other races, you have to, work your way up through the ranks, to race, NASCAR or whatever. You got to do the front. Well, except for Pastrana, he goes right to the top. but
can I tell you a story about Travis real quick?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So the first time I met Travis, that I remember, and that they had a Catalina Grand Prix, the motocross race in Catalina, 10 years ago or something.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep, and we shot a little bit of that for Honorary Sunny, the next chapter, and just a little bit was used. But I was on the ferry, and Travis is there, and somebody goes, "There's Travis Pastrana, Dana. You know him?" And I go, I know who he is. I don't know him. He goes, "Well, he knows you. Go say hi." It was somebody that wanted to meet him by me introducing myself to him, introducing them. So anyways, and there's 20 people around him, and I kind of stand there, and he looks at, he's such a nice guy. He goes, "What's up, man?" And I go, "Hey," I go, "Dana Brown." And he goes, and he sang On Any Sunday. He knew all the lyrics. On Any Sunday. He goes,
yeah. How could you not?
He's a really good guy for a guy. He is one of the nicest guys, and his wife too. I mean, just lovely people.
Yeah, when we met Travis, we were in Florida, and he was 13, and we had Carrie Hart with us and Seth, and we built a jump over some little pond thing, and he was on a little side trail doing like landing with no hands and doing all these weird little things like this kid. And then Seth and Hart jumped over this pond thing, and Seth of course crashed, and Travis, hey, I want to do it, and he's like comes flying over doing it with no hands and everything. So we actually talked his mom, because she was a flight attendant, into letting him come out to California. So she stuck him on a plane, and he came and stayed with me for like a couple of weeks. I took him to Beaumont, took him to all our like local spots. He's never, rode our California grassy hills, and those are good times. And yeah, so that's what I was saying. He'd sit there and play video games with my kid, and put himself to bed at 8 o'clock, and we'd get up and go riding. And he's funny. He's a good kid.
He's a good man.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a nut.
I have a story I got to tell about you, Dana Nicholson. I was in doing publicity for, I guess, maybe Dust to Glory, the sequel to Dust to, that I did a few years ago. And so he comes to me and goes, dude, I'm your biggest fan. He goes, this whole thing, and he starts listing the movies I've done. Then he started talking about all the Crusty thing. He combined the two of us. And I didn't correct him. I just said, oh, thank you. Because he's doing it. I went, oh, that's not me, but that's Dana Nicholson. So,
it's awesome.
Yeah. So he thinks we're one person, and he's in Minnesota, I believe Minneapolis. I hope he's not listening to this, because now he knows.
Well, shit, I'd be honored to share the movies that you've done with you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. You guys are, the things that you guys have done of like, some of the things we still dream about doing, we still haven't done, John and I, like our next one we want to do is Legends of Film. Just, I don't know if John's told you about that, but it's kind of a documentary about all the filmmakers. But I mean, within it, you tell the story of the best athletes in the world, because without the athletes, they're nothing without a filmmaker, without the platform, there's no glory, so it's kind of like a give or take. So hey, Jason, so have you never found Free Dog, huh?
I spoke with him, and he tried to reboot his router. He's tried to hard reset his phone. And so he said he's going to keep on working. I encouraged him to reach out to his internet provider, and they can maybe reset his modem from afar. So it's the three of us right now, and let's just run with it.
And when you live in the hills, right?
That's what happens when you live in the hills, and once you know it, right before right before showtime, this is when it happens.
All right. Well, what about this, Dan? What do you think? You want to?
I've got his notes.
Well, I know you got clips, Jason, of I imagine on any Sunday, and
right.
You want to just go ahead and start off with a clip there. We could do a little reboot on your dad, and then we could talk about how you did. I think we've already expressed how influential I think freaking your dad was on everything. Like even when we came back from snowboarding to John and I met, he came from kind of the surf industry, and I drug him back in. I'm like, dude, this is, I could say that on any Sunday of the 90s kind of say, not that it was like, hey, let's make that, but the feel was kind of like, do what we want on motorcycles and how we want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I kind of lived that era growing up, like riding like Claude Osteen's and Saddleback and all those places. I'm not sure if did you get a ride when your dad made all those films?
I rode Saddleback, yeah. You
rode Saddleback?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Did you race at all or just free ride?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'd race in those little it dawned on me at about 15 I wasn't anywhere close to the top, so I haven't raced. I rode a few years ago. I was a co-driver in a Class 11 deal for a couple 100 miles. for Eric Solozano. But he did all the racing. I just was traveling with him during the 1000. So that was my most recent racing experience.
Yeah, I was never good racing a bike. I was always good at getting a hole shot and blowing right through the first turn. That was about it. But so Jason, why don't we throw a little whatever you might have clued up for on any Sunday
one right here. We'll show this clip and then we'll stop it. If you want me to rewind, we can rewind. But let's watch this first with audio.
Wait, for our audience, I don't even know what kind of clips you guys clued up. So you guys let it run, and then Dana, you can talk about it for a minute, and then we'll go from there.
And Dana, just to let you know, this is On Any Sunday, and it's a motocross little clip here. We'll start right now. Awesome. Excellent, gents. Let's do it.
All right, Wizard, hit the button.
Quite different from the national circuit is the On Any Sunday world of motocross. A motocross track is uphill, downhill, jumps, bumps, mud, rocks, and dust. The rougher the better. Competition is still the name of the game. It doesn't matter whether you're battling for first or 31st, it's just as fierce. Here's a classic confrontation for 10th place. The guy in the yellow figures he'll zap his buddy through the puddle and cover his glasses with mud and water so he can't see, and that'll put him behind. But his pal just threw away his $40 prescription lenses and passed him right back again on the corner. When some riders start getting behind, they panic and try a shortcut through the giggle weeds.
I love it.
No longer simple frustration.
All right, stop for a minute.
Yeah. Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about this.
Excellent.
Did you notice the metal pole sticking out of the tires? Oh, dude, that brings back so many memories with some of those, just the bull tacos and the old bikes. Luckily, I was fortunate to have a Honda as my first bike, so I've been a Honda guy. Oh, wow. Let's hear it from you.
Well, the motocross thing was pretty new when he went to film it. It was very European sport. And like you said, the Hondas, all those bikes were getting a little smaller and more maneuverable. And those guys came over on the Huskies and the CZs and all those things. But guys were, like the other motocross stuff, those weren't the pros, right? That's the most unbelievable shot, by the way, the guy throwing away his glasses.
Yes.
You get that shot and you go, we got to set this up. Like, what the hell did that guy just do? So then, and Dad was just the best at coming up with a line like, he just threw away, I don't know if those were his goggles, but, he'd say it. And that became, there's so many good lines like that he had on any Sunday. Like the guy doing the wheelie that goes by the kid on the mini bike, and the guy.
Well, he narrated everything, right? He narrated the whole thing like a one-man band, right?
Absolutely. It cost too much money really to do interviews much, because sound and then the film, and you had to sync the sound, and the whole thing was kind of economically unviable. And I was lucky enough to come in a time like we work, and it's all kind of connected, and it's easy enough to do to get the other sound. But you kind of film a ton of it, and you couldn't afford to do a bunch of other sound. And
honestly, that's how we did it. We didn't plan much ahead.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like we would run and gun, and like we would just kind of film things in places and stack footage, and then sort the pile at the end. Like we didn't have no kind of rhyme or reason, like just a mission.
No, me too. It's the hardest thing in meetings when people go, well, if you're we'd like you to do a film about this, how would you do it? And I go, well, but you don't know what's going to happen till it happens. So you can't really tell people what's going to happen. You kind of got to stack it, figure it out.
Well, yeah, you can see it in your head, but to explain it to somebody, it's like people don't get it. How are they going to see your vision in your head? You know,
can't go, this guy's going to ride the biggest wave ever ridden, or this day is going to, you don't know. But sometimes when something's real crappy like that, something great comes out of it. Like we did Step into Liquid. We were in Maui. We'd already shot Jaws once with Laird and Dave Kalama and Derek Dorner and these guys. And we brought the Mavericks guys over. Like it was the first time they were all going to surf Jaws. And it was just one of those swells that had a bunch of wind on it. It wasn't really good. And so we kind of knew it wasn't going to be what we thought we were hoping, this summit of the great big wave surfers. And which is corny, but that's not exactly what we wanted. But anyways, at that point, Laird's like, goes, oh, we could use the foil boards. And I'm like, what's a foil board? And, you know, it's these things.
yeah.
Water. And he goes, oh, we surf them at Jaws. It doesn't get the chop. And there's a really neat little segment that we have of those guys doing that at Jaws. And that happened because the weather was crappy. And looking back, I'm really glad it did, because to have another big wave segment in that movie of the same place kind of wouldn't have been, I think it was much better off. It was windy. So
yeah, everything kind of, that's how we've kind of always, like, things just would always unfold for, you know, we'd go around the world to different countries with dirt bikes and kind of just let things unfold. We went to
and I think your guys' stuff has that feel to it. It feels genuine, you know, and I think that's what people respond to. I mean, yeah, they respond to all the action and all that stuff, but they respond to the genuine quality of not just the action, but of the people themselves. You know, I think that's
yeah, the character,
that other level that you like. You know,
well, like with On Any Sunday, and like how your dad would narrate and edit, it had that, like, you know, it was that feel. It's like everybody could be a part of it, and it was funny, and it was like you could relate to it. You know what I mean? Like our stuff was kind of all over the road, but some of the stuff nowadays I see, like, you know, there's these viral things and the GoPros flying around and everything. Everything looks so pristine, and everything looks fake. It doesn't even look real anymore, because, you know, everything's all self-adjusting cameras and all this stuff, and it's almost kind of, you know, you're sitting there watching footage from inside a trophy truck, and the guy looks like he's eating wine and cheese, and fucking hell no, there ain't no wine and cheese in my trophy truck, right?
How many years y'all go, God dang, if we could just get something that would steady this out a little bit, because it was impossible to see whether it's inside a trophy truck or you're on the side of a boat, you know, in the middle of and now it's so smooth. You're right. They make those $300 million films, action films, are purposely, you know, jiggling the camera.
Yeah.
Action. So
right.
It's funny that it's gone so far the other way. It's like, look, we gotta screw this shot up, because it just looks like the easiest thing in the world.
It's so funny, because it's like I spent, you know, just years. I was always the onboard guy and tinkering with, you know, all these, trying to make cameras fly on planes and helicopters and all that crap. And to get the shakeout, like even before the GoPro, I used to take, and I used to even use the doorknob or the door peephole lenses with the fisheyes. So I used to get all the wide angles and the fisheyes, and I always adapt them on all the onboard stuff. And that's, you know, how I used to, you know, deal with getting a lot of the shake out of your onboard stuff, you know, the wider. And that's why when the GoPros, you know, it kind of takes out anybody could use it because it's such a wide angle. But nowadays it's so ridiculous where it erases the stick and it's flying behind you, and it's almost like everything looks like it's CG. So now it's like,
it's right. True. There's a certain thing that gets lost, and I wish I knew exactly what it was. I could be an advisor to people, but there's certainly things you look at that you go like, I know that's real, but it doesn't hit you in the stomach, or it doesn't get you. Like
yeah. It kind of you lose your attention span, and then
Yeah.
another thing that I have a problem with, like the way John and I used to edit, was in a fog and in like how they make an album back in the day, because we would go, tape to tape, reel to reel, and you wouldn't want to downgrade your footage, so you started. You thought a shot through, you color corrected, you went shot to shot. Is Free Dog back?
Free Dog might be here.
Fuck.
Holy crap.
Holy
Hey,
shit.
we can hear you. Oh my gosh, I don't believe it.
Yeah, he's back.
Back.
Okay, well, let me finish my thought and we'll hand the floor over. But I was telling him, Johnny, nowadays, when we used to edit, and John, he kind of taught me the ropes on editing, it was tape to tape. And then when the Avids and everything else would come and the computer editing, everybody would take their good shots and they'd throw it at the big timeline and they'd throw it at the big spikes, and they wouldn't edit from the beginning to the end. They would just edit because, oh, this is cool, and that's the big spike in the song, you know what I mean? That type of deal. So I think, kind of like editing's changed a little bit nowadays.
Oh.
What Dana's talking about, Dana Brown, is that basically we started off with Betacam SP. So we had A/B rolls.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we started.
Yeah,
I learned it from Mr. Herbie Fletcher. His editors down in San Clemente at Astrodeck.
Yeah.
He would let me edit from midnight to 8 in the morning for me filming his kids and giving him footage of snowboarding of Nathan and Christian.
Sure.
And that was my deal. And so I learned on Betacam SP. So every time that we would film, Dana back then probably had mini DV, maybe even high 8 back in the day.
We started on high 8, yeah.
I was shooting Super 8 and 16 millimeter and transferring it over there in Burbank and putting it on Beta SP.
What'd
so
you use?
Then we would have that. And I ended up buying not Herbie's setup, but I knew what he had. So I got a loan of $100,000, and I went out and bought the A/B roll, the monitors, and all that kind of stuff, and made probably Creatures of Habit 3 is where I started my own studio, because I did number 1 and 2 Creatures of Habit snowboard movies at Herbie Fletcher's.
Wow.
I'm curious, how did you get started? Did you study what your dad was doing in editing?
Yeah.
Or?
My dad got me a camera, a little 8x8, not a Super 8, a 8x8. You had 25-foot load, and then you flipped it over. When I was 10, and I had to give him storyboards of what we were going to shoot, and to give me the money to get the film. And I had that growing up, and I actually was a film major in college. But, I kind of looked into it, and I thought, this is bullshit. Like, I don't want to be a PA and then work my way up, and nobody's going to be able to do it now. So when I left college, I went and traveled. I did the South Seas on $2 a day for about a year. And, thinking I was Ernest Hemingway or was going to figure out the world. And came back, fell in love, got married, had a couple of kids. I was like 27 or 28, and I was writing. I was a pretty good writer, hopefully still am. But I had like a column, a sports column at the Santa Barbara Independent, and I was working construction, and my pop called and said, "Hey man, I want to put my old surf movies back together. What are you making with all these jobs? You can keep writing, but what do you make with construction?" I was waiting tables too, because I had like 3 kids, so I had to feed them, unfortunately. And I told him, and it wasn't much, but he said, "Yeah, okay, I'll do $100 more than that a week, and come work for me." And so Dad did 4 surf films before he did The Endless Summer. And but he'd use them for stock footage and stuff. So they were kind of in pieces. and it had these old yellowed prints. And I took the prints and we just restored them all. And at the end of that, he went like, let's do a movie. And he'd been retired since Sunny Sunday, so he decided to make Endless Summer 2. And shit, by the time I was done with that apprenticeship, it'd been like 5 years, and I figured, well, this is my career now. You know, I was 32 or something. This is what I'm doing. So, yeah, and from then on, it was kind of up to me, you know, how I go forward. But I don't know. My thing, I've spoken at film schools and stuff. It's like it's so unique, but my dad had done it all, just like you're talking about. And I'm from the era too, where you took everything and transferred it to beta and had to do A/B rolls. I definitely did that. So I learned from him. I mean, you just do whatever you can do, technically. So I kind of learned by the seat of my, you know, had to do all the jobs, and I don't know. I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is, I don't know where John went again. He's all over the road today. He's in and out. When I was telling you earlier, I was looking for that yearbook to show you the motorcycle day. I actually came across, for a couple weeks now, I moved out of a studio, and I brought home a box of masters, and then I brought home some other tapes, and I don't know, I hid the masters somewhere, and in the course of looking for that, I found the box of masters. It's pretty much every Crusty movie master, and
Wow.
yeah, because we're bumping them up to doing the 4K thing on them, you know, and kind of do a little remastering, and it's like, I'm like, I know I had a box of masters. I couldn't find them anywhere, and I came across them getting ready for the show. I'm like, oh, well, that's a good sign. Well, I found those.
I get asked that too. Like, do you have you know, that first day at Cortez? Yeah, you know, but same deal. I find them like in the weirdest places because you don't know. You don't know if they're valuable or not, and then you forget where you put them.
Oh yeah, well, we like our Crusty movies. We would do probably 80 to 100 hours of footage per 40-minute movie.
Yeah,
you know, times 20 movies. So the vault is ridiculous. Hey, Free Dog, are you back?
He's back.
I'm trying.
Hey,
I can hear you.
Hey, there's my partner, John Freeman. He's ghosting us today. He's got the Dana and Dana show going. John's ghosting us. Hi, John.
It's the Dana and Dana show.
Yeah.
The D&D.
Well,
the next clip we've got lined up with Steve McQueen. So I'm not sure if you want me to show Steve McQueen right now or not, but that's the next one.
Well, unless you want to get into some of the surfing now that we got John on there, because I know John's could really love to probably chime in on some of the surfing with you. Oh, wait, is he going? Free Dog.
Free Dog's gone.
Dang. Free Dog split on us again. Well, what do you think, Dana? We could, because we still got to talk. I mean, actually, there's so much we're probably going to have to, you know, like John was saying, we'll probably do a couple shows, but
Right.
The remake, you know, when you did On Any Sunday, I guess you would call it part 3 with Robbie Madison and everybody.
Yeah.
You want to show a couple clips of that one, maybe, and kind of maybe you can give us a rundown of that, because that's kind of a project where a lot of our guys kind of intertwined a little bit, right?
Yeah. It was, you know, people asked Dad everything, doing another On Any Sunday, and he retired. And a friend of mine, Todd Huff, you know, was kicking the idea, and I kept saying, let's not call it On Any Sunday anything. That's like Bible too. You know, it's like it means so much to people. Like, let's just call it something else and make kind of the same movie. And then Red Bull got involved and wanted to finance it. And it was like they wanted that name. And I said, well, fine, but it's going to offend some people because there's no other On Any Sunday. But I thought these people's stories, you know, whether it's Robbie or Mark Marquez or whoever we're doing, deserve to be told. So, and it's great sport,
At the same time, you made the movie. You have the rights to call it that. Nobody else in the world would have the rights to call it that. You have the rights to call it that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Dad's deal with Red Bull is like, well, this is all fine, but if the movie's a piece of shit, you got to call it something else. And I was sitting there and go, thanks, Dad.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a blast to do. And I don't know what it is about motorcycle people, but they are the nicest people. I mean, I'm more of a surfer than I am a motorcycle guy. Both forever, but way I grew up and my friends now. But I like I'm always astounded at how sweet and giving and stuff motorcycle. So it was a labor of love. It was really a very fortunate opportunity to do that.
Well, I think there's a camaraderie when it comes to off-roading in general that, if you see another rider or a person in a truck, a vehicle in distress in the desert, it's like being in a boat. You're not going to drive right by them when they're waving their hands in the air.
No.
In the desert, it's more prevalent. Like, you ride. People that ride solo are out of their freaking minds in the desert. You know what I mean? I've seen enough. I'm sure you've seen enough too. But hey, Jason, do you have anything queued up of that movie with? I'm sure you do on the notes with, like, say, Robbie Madison or any of those guys out of that movie.
You're speaking of next chapter, right? On Indie Sunday, next chapter.
Yes.
Yes, there's a Robbie jump right here, 11:48. Let me get that going. Okay, cool. Hang on a second here. Let me switch movies. On Indie Sundays right here. And Robbie jump is 11:48.
Can't believe Free Dogs is lost in space.
Yeah, it happened. All right. Here we go. So let me make this one over here big.
All day to decide when we're going to jump,
A little after 8 a.m., with the wind picking up, Robbie headed to the top.
Ready, gonna jump down there? Yeah?
That guy kills me every time I watch him. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Robbie was flown over 375 feet while dropping the
375 feet. You want to keep on playing? I mean, that's just remarkable.
Now let's talk about Robbie for a minute, Dana. Now, what do you think of Dana? Of Robbie, because, like, I personally, we've done the Night of World Records type of thing, and I'm not, coming from filming Seth's ass, doing all this dumb crap. I don't like that long distance stuff. He's probably one of the only guys in the world that is methodical enough to where, I feel that guy's got his game spot on. But, like, what is your take on Robbie Madison?
I think, well, I'm going to go back a little bit. So we decided it's on a Sunday, and I went, we're going to use the same framework of the original. And the problem was the same framework. Mert Lawwell would become Mark Marquez, right? It's a competitive guy. The everyman thing was Malcolm Smith. We found Carlin Dunn, and it was the late Carlin Dunn. Now he passed away racing Pikes Peak, but he kind of represented the guy that was like Malcolm, owned his own motorcycle shop, could do everything. But who was going to be Steve McQueen, right?
Right.
There's nobody. And somebody went, well, what about, because Dad didn't do Evel Knievel or anything in his, what about Robbie Madison? And he'd be like this other fact, other way you'd look at motorcycling. And I was like, okay, yeah. I didn't know him. Man, I met that guy for 5 minutes. He had me laughing. He's the sweetest guy. I loved Amy and stuff. And I just went, I admire the heck out of him, and he makes me laugh. And there's nobody better than Robbie Madison in my book. I was in, and I think I have a friend for life. And then we traveled together quite a bit besides film and just to promote the thing. And he's super easy to hang out with on the road. He's smart and funny, and Robbie's a special guy. I love Robbie.
Yeah, he's definitely easy to tour with.
Yeah. Comes up to time, it's great. I'm like the old man. He's like, dude, we're gonna, like in Amsterdam, we're gonna get bicycles, and I'm like, no. I'm not going. But truly lovely guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like the uniqueness of the things that he's come up with. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, Seth came out of the hole with his whole thing was just a determination to get the bike back on the wheels and do it again, not necessarily what he was trying to do. It was just his determination showed through. Like Robbie Madison, his creativity of what he wants to do.
Yeah.
That's what, and it's like very professional, Yeah. Pastrana, his ideas are out there, and he just does it by taking the lumps. I've seen that kid just do it the hard way, but he has an imagination like nobody else,
Yeah.
But now on the surfing side of it, that's a whole nother world. I mean, John, when I met John, he had done Kelly Slater in black and white, and you were talking about the big wave stuff, and we were in Hawaii, and we hung out with Chava Greenlee, and he's a nut. He convinced everybody to jump off some big rock, and of course I knew better. I'm like, no, I'm going to film it, and they carry hard, all of them almost drowned, just trying to get back into the shore. It's like, you guys are stupid. But yeah, that guy, he's one that he does the moto. He does the moto and the surf.
Yeah.
He's actually a pretty good rider, Chava.
There's a few of them. There's a real crossover. Back in the day, Hobie and my dad, a lot of those guys would do both. And now you see guys, Sonny Garcia, motorcycling, loves it.
Who was another one was Gary Elkerton. Gary Elkerton? When Damian Sanders and myself, we were professional snowboarders, and we rode for OP, Ocean Pacific, back in the day. And every time the OP Pro would come into town, we would take them out dirt biking, and they would always flip out because we were friends with the athletes. And they're like, don't hurt them, you know what I mean? And we had CR 500s and stuff, and we'd take them out dirt biking, and they used to get so mad at us all the time. It was funny. Yeah. But he was a cool one.
Yeah, very. Like Johnny Campbell surfed his whole life. Ricky Johnson, guys I know, so it's funny because if you're talking to a studio or something, they go, well, you do surf movies, not this stuff. And they don't understand that it's totally connected.
Yeah. Everything. I mean, ever since I was a professional snowboarder, it was, like say John comes from the Kelly Slater movie, and like, the Herbie Fletchers, and everything we've done, like the first person that ever put me in a magazine as a professional athlete was Sonny Miller. And, God bless Sonny Miller, his soul. And he was the one that gave me my start. The first time I ever left the country, I spent a month in Japan with Sonny Miller doing a snowboard contest and, doing photos and all that stuff. And I mean, that was so far back in the day, I can't even remember what year that was.
He's a good man. It's gone way too soon. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sonny was the best. I mean, we used to go snowboarding back in Mountain High when it was Sonny Miller, Jim Alisi, and me and another guy who's in Southern California, and a couple guys from LA. We'd all meet up at Mountain High, and it was like that was way back in the beginning.
Yeah.
And what was it? The Life's a Beach was going on back then. I remember we got Life's a Beach. But yeah, so was it the Step in the Liquid? Do you have some of that? You want to play some clips of that, or what do you feel like?
Step in the Liquid. Sorry for cutting you off there, D number one. In relation to Step in the Liquid, John was wanting to wait till the second episode with Dana Brown. So thank you very much. We'll wait on that one. Well, we do have queued up here for On Any Sunday, the next chapter. We have flat track racing, salt flats. I'm not sure if you want to play one of those two or both. We have that. We also have motocross. We have Pastrana and Doug Henry, GP Gnarly, Pikes Peak, Electric Moto, and then also Pikes Run E-Moto race.
So, I'll leave it up to you, Dana.
Dana Brown. I'm not sure which one.
Past an hour. What's going on? I'm losing my battery.
Yeah, we're getting pretty deep into this.
Wow, we are getting deep into it. We're almost at an hour of live time.
Yeah, well, if you want, we could wrap this up and then just try it again in a week or so here with Johnny and get into the surfing thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love all that stuff. Literally my battery.
We can't.
I'm with you.
I'm about to
lose our guest of honor.
Everybody.
Dana Brown, you're the star of the show here, so we certainly can't lose you. So
yeah, no, let's pick it back up, Jason, and we'll get into some of the when we get Free Dog worked out, we'll get into some of the surf side of things. And
absolutely,
we can't tell you how much of an honor, Dana, for you to come on the show. Like, just the history that you come from, and even in the truck industry, I know the surfing's not as my forte, but on the off-road industry, like from from my point of view, it's like shit, you did a lot for the industry. All that is like amazing. Like the whole Crusty thing, if it wasn't for not saying nothing would have been, but I mean the influence is just unbelievable. How and the similar just enjoying life type of a movie.
Well, thank you, and you got it. It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to doing this again soon.
Yeah, awesome, man, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and Jason, I guess we're going to sign out here, and
absolutely,
we'll get Free-Dog worked out to where he could dip into the surf side of things, and
exactly.
All right, well, great talking to you, and we will pick it up here again in a couple weeks.
All right.
1 week. Yes, we'll be back on live next Tuesday. Dana Brown, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
All right.
All the best now. Until next time.
Thank you, Dana.
Right. Thanks, fans.
Appreciate it.
Follow us at VoltaChaos.com. VoltaChaos.com.
All right, everybody, hit the subscribe button on your way out of these.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Subscribe and like. Here we go.
Peace.